Welcome back. China retaliating against Washington's latest restrictions on drone exports. The Communist Party now banning 6 U.S. entities from engaging in trade with Beijing. The move coming after the U.S. targeted Chinese companies over national security concerns and forced labor concerns. Drones now a defining technology on the modern battlefield. The escalating fight between the U.S. and China over global manufacturing dominance, setting the stage for President Trump's expected meeting with Xi Jinping in September, when the communist leader comes to Washington. Joining me now is the Gatestone Institute senior fellow, Gordon Chang. Gordon, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. So your reaction to China now trying to retaliate against the U.S. on doing business on trade?
Good morning, Maria. I think the most important thing about the Ministry of Commerce actions yesterday was that they were not as impactful as the measures that the U.S. has imposed on China recently. And that shows you that the Chinese know that they don't have the ammunition. Right now, Xi Jinping has a critically export-dependent economy. That's the only way that he can grow GDP. And that means he needs access to the U.S. market, which means he can't irritate the Trump administration that much. So it's important for the United States to keep Chinese equipment out of our critical infrastructure. And I think it's actually pretty good that we're not getting Chinese drones, because we need to build our own drone industry on an emergency basis.
Well, that was the most incredible thing. For so many years, we were buying drones from DJI, a Chinese drone manufacturer. And here we are openly saying that China is our #1 adversary, and we're buying, military equipment from our #1 adversary. It is absolutely incredible that that went on for as long as it did. And we still have so many DJI drones in our arsenal, do we not?
We do. And, just as recently as about 15 months ago, we had the Secret Service buying Chinese drones for surveillance and use in the White House grounds. These drones can easily be used to send information back to China. This is just insane. It was just insane.
Exactly. Talk about the fox watching the hen house over there. But look, I want to get your take on specifically what China is doing, because Scott Bessent was pretty clear when we were talking about the race to win on AI when he joined me just a week or so ago, a couple of weeks ago, when he said that we will not stand for theft when it comes to our AI models from communist China. Watch this.
We are finding watermarks of our U.S. large language models on many of the Chinese models. The U.S. government supports open source, but what we do not support is IP theft. The other question might be, should companies that are using Chinese models have to disclose that to their customers? These models have to be held to the same standard that U.S. models are, but more importantly, are they using stolen materials? There's a very technical AI word for it called distillation, but you and I would call it theft.
What about that, Gordon? We know that China has been stealing intellectual property from the United States for decades now. Are they doing it on AI models?
Well, they certainly are. And I love the Treasury Secretary, and I think he's doing a great job. But he needs to stop warning the Chinese and start imposing costs. On July 16th, we saw Kimi K3, the Chinese AI model. It was distilled from Anthropic's Fable. But there's no excuse for that happening, because on January 20 of last year, DeepSeek released its R1 model, which was distilled over ChatGPT-4, which was a violation of OpenAI's terms of service. So, look, we know this has been going on for far too long. We need to stop talking to the Chinese. We need to start doing something, because they're not impressed by the Trump administration's words.
Yeah, good point there. And we'll see what happens ahead of this meeting, or whether or not we'll see a reaction after Xi Jinping leaves Washington, the meeting happening in September. Silicon Valley, meanwhile, facing new scrutiny over whether American AI innovation is potentially helping China close the technology gap inadvertently. Startups working with some of America's biggest AI players, including OpenAI and Anthropic, are also providing training and technology to Chinese labs to build lower-cost models. Chinese researchers have reportedly used U.S. models to develop domestic defense AI capabilities. It's something we've been talking about for so long on this program. And current CIA Director John Ratcliffe told me about all of the national security threats from China all the way back to 2017. Here he is with me when he was Texas congressman in 2020. Watch this. I know they've been stealing intellectual property for decades. Walk through some of the things that China is doing right now, Director.
China and China alone is the greatest national security threat that we face, and we see them growing their military. We see them economically, as you talk about, stealing through intellectual property, stealing through cyber warfare, stealing from our universities, stealing medical research, all to gain information which they know is what you need to dominate technologically. So, you know, China is not a good actor internationally. We need to call them out for what they are, not what they pretend to be.
So he knew all about this, Gordon. He's the CIA director now. I'm wondering what kind of accountability we may see here now that Bessent tells us that there are watermarks on Chinese AI models.
Well, we know what the problem is. As John Ratcliffe said in that clip, we've known it for decades, and that was a half decade ago. So the Chinese will continue to steal until we impose costs on China that are at least as great as the benefits they receive. This is not rocket science. This is an issue of political will, and the United States has very, very little of it, whether we're talking about the current president or his predecessors. We have just no political will to defend our economy. So the American people ought to be outraged, at the Chinese, but also at our political elites for not doing what is obviously necessary.
Well, President Trump has his own way of doing things, and he's the first president to actually take on communist China. So that must be said. Now, he may do it in his own way in terms of, you know, a friendly way. He's my friend. He's, you know, and at the same time shutting down windows for Beijing. But he is the first one to take this on. Beijing is also said to be expanding its AI footprint in Africa through digital infrastructure and technology partnerships. Gordon, we know how this goes. Explain the significance of this push, because we've seen the CCP over and over again lend money to countries that need it, particularly countries in Africa, and then when they can't pay up, they'll take a port, they'll take, you know, land, whatever, to actually become dominant in that region. Explain the significance of this push in Africa.
Yeah, the important thing here is that the country that gets others to adopt its AI will dominate the AI race and the 21st century. And China is, with its open weight models, and very low prices or no prices, is getting other countries to adopt its AI. The problem for China, though, is that, you know, the Chinese investors, despite all of these great achievements that China announced last month, and they were two really important ones, not only Kimi K3, but also the deep ultraviolet lithography machine. These are really important advantages, but investors are fleeing the Chinese tech stocks because Xi Jinping has made it clear that Chinese companies aren't going to make money. And what they're going to do is flood the world and hope to get everybody to adopt their AI and then raise prices later on. They did this with solar panels. They're doing it now with EVs. The United States, we need to just have a reassessment of this. And this probably involves President Trump sitting down and talking to AI companies about how to get the world to adopt American AI. And perhaps high prices are not the way to do it.
Which is what I think he's trying to do. You know, Gordon, they did the same thing with dominating the supply chain, right? They basically, the CCP said to America, well, it's cheaper to do it here, we'll do it cheaply here. And then what happens? Years later, we find, oh, we're completely reliant on our #1 adversary for prescription drugs. We're completely reliant on Asia for our semiconductor chips. I mean, that's how it happens. And the CCP has been very strategic about that. Obviously, they're looking to do that on other things as well. Gordon, good to see you. Thank you. We will keep watch on all of that. Gordon Chang joining us. Stay with us. We'll be right back.